Hey Achievers, this is Maya, founder of Healthy High Achievers. Join our global community and create healthier routines to avoid burnout and feel more calm and healthy. Let's get to it. Hey Achievers, I'm so excited. Today we have Tracy Miller on the podcast. Now, Tracy and her husband Brandon have an investing company called Adventure Properties. And Tracy is the host of the Clock Out the Vicarious Life podcast, where I was a guest, by the way, not too long ago. So it's so lovely to finally introduce you, Tracy, to the Healthy High Achievers. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. There's so many things I love about your story and how you always choose freedom and family and traveling, lots of traveling. Where did your
Yeah.
most recent trip take you?
Let's see. Where did I go? The most recent would be, well, Spokane, really quick and easy on the West Coast for softball. That's the joys of what I'm doing with my life now allows me to never miss my daughter's softball game. So she travels. So it was 5 hours one way. We stayed in our Sprinter van for the weekend so she could play softball. And prior to that, we got to go to the south part of the United States to watch my stepdaughter graduate college. Again, we went down for 5 days and just kind of checked out the whole Texas area. Yeah, and then previous to that, a lot of touring around Arizona and Utah by myself and with my dogs, just doing some hiking and kind of reconning out mountain bike trails and buying a second home down there.
Lovely. Well, you like exploring. I like exploring. I don't love, there's nothing I love more than just going to a new place and
Yeah.
discovering. And you have your van, right? It's I know your podcast logo is kind of based on your van.
Yeah, so I currently have a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van. We just upgraded. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that because I was such a diehard, was so excited to use my Volkswagen Westfalia. That's a 1976, and those vans don't go fast. They're in no hurry to get anywhere. They may or may not make it because they break down. And his name was Oscar, and so yeah, my podcast logo has Oscar in there riding off into the sunset of the mountains, just exploring the world. But in all practicality, for Montana, Oscar didn't do well because there's so many mountains and he overheated easily. And I just wanted to arrive. So I upgraded to a
Yeah.
Sprinter van. Reliability.
Reliability. Sometimes the adventurous will like get there, will I not is nice, but not if you really, really, really don't want to miss.
Yeah, I don't want to spend my whole life being a mechanic, and you would have to be like a mechanic to be able to work on Oscar
I
on
can
his bad day.
imagine. Poor Oscar.
Yeah.
So today I'd love to dive into your journey, kind of behind the scenes of
Sure.
burning out and
Yeah.
pivoting and realigning, because I know you're a high achiever. You love doing a million things. You're very active as well, mountain biker, backpacker. So you want that adventurous life, but you also have that entrepreneur in you that's always busy, lots of
Yeah.
work. And what I'd like to dive into like the burning out, the pivoting, the realigning, and what it
Mhm.
is that you did to, as you described it before we started this interview, to rediscover your joy and peace. I really liked how you put that. So what
Yeah.
happened in the first place that brought burnout into your life?
Yeah, sure. So my most recent career path would be is business ownership, as you said, entrepreneurship. Prior to that, I was learning about employee stuff and very hard worker, promoter up the chain all the time on all these different positions. But I discovered being a business owner and entrepreneurship almost 8 years ago now. And that was getting my real estate license to represent buyers and sellers to help them realize their dreams. And it took a real short time for me to realize that that was a huge opportunity for me to also expand and start creating some long-term wealth and an exit plan from selling real estate. Because, when you're a real estate agent, you are the golden goose, is what we say in my family, is that if I stop selling real estate, we have no more income. If I get injured, we have no income, etc. So I realized quickly that I needed to start investing in real estate as well. So about a year and a half into my career, I bought my very first property, and it was a cute little duplex, and I got the bug bad. And in the meantime, I went from, right out the gates of selling, I skyrocketed to top producer within the first 2 years. I was number one in my market. So that just means that I was hustling nonstop, that I was living, breathing, literally obsessively building my business and my skills and my network and doing everything I could to be successful in real estate. And I was at that point, hindsight 2020, I was letting everything that I really valued in my life at that time kind of go to the wayside. And in my mind, it was temporary. It's like, oh, I'm just going to really hustle for a couple years until turns into the next until the next and the next. And there's always another goal. And for me, as a super type A, hard driven person, every year I set goals, and every year it was just a little bit more commission I was going to make, a few more sales I was going to make. And then after the second year, that wasn't enough. I got kind of hooked on that accomplishment, and I decided I was going to build a brokerage and clone myself as many times as I could by teaching, mentoring, and supervising real estate agents to do the same thing. Part of me really wanted to just be able to pay it forward with the gift that I had received of this huge opportunity of all the possibilities financially and with your personal life that you can have in this industry. So I wanted to share that with others, particularly women. So I recruited heavily, trained a whole bunch of agents. I had 11 of them at the end when I finally gave up my brokerage. But anyway, so I supervised agents. I had at that point selling approximately 100 transactions a year is what I was closing. And that was with a full-time assistant by my side. Then I was running the real estate brokerage, which was supervising 11 agents, a full-time marketing staff, and my assistant. And then my husband and I both continued to purchase investment properties at a high rate as well. Because I was earning a lot of income, I was using the tax advantages of, expensing all the different things to be able to take some of my income tax debt down, and then at the same time creating generational wealth by having long-term assets that were appreciating with time. So that's my business plan and what I'm doing. And currently to date, we just closed yesterday on 3 properties in exchange for one that we sold. So I think we're up to 16 doors, 15 or 16 doors now. And all of those are cash flowing and help us make income, which then allowed me, upon this realization that I was burning out, to step back from not only selling real estate. I'm down now to selling maybe, I've usually got 2 to 3 transactions going at a time rather than about 25 at a time.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then about 3 weeks ago, I gave my agents all notice and let them know that I'm no longer going to be running a brokerage either. And I let all my agents go. So
So
now I'm,
recently. That's so recent. Yeah. And you
yeah,
know what's so interesting about what you were just saying of that entrepreneurship? And I know so many people, I recognize myself in that. And I know so many people, my clients, my audience,
yeah,
exhausted overachievers who want to be healthy high achievers, right? They know
yeah,
that building a business in the beginning, just like you said, you're like, it's just, I need to hustle in the beginning, and I need to build this thing. And once I reach that goal, once I reach a stable income from it, whatever the goal is, the business goal, there's always a next goal and a next goal and a next goal. And what's even more interesting is that you did have a full-time assistant.
yeah,
So most burned out or almost burned out entrepreneurs are like, you know what? I know the solution to this problem. I need to outsource. I need to have an assistant. You
yeah.
had one. What happened there? Was that in your mind? Like, this is going to be the solution, and then you were still burned out? What happened?
Yeah, so I just had too many irons in the fire, and looking back, I could certainly take a step back from one portion, because with the 3 different businesses that are running. And by the way, our investments, when we're buying our investment properties, we're doing full renovations on them as well. So
Wow.
for me, it's acquiring, finding the right property, shopping for the right property, obsessively looking for the deal, acquiring it, and then it's doing the design on it, doing the budget, doing the project management on it. And then my husband is the contractor that comes in and does the work itself with his small team of usually 3 to 4, contractors that work with him. So that puts a little bit of strain on our marriage too. It's never been hard, like hard, but I recognize I'm like, ooh, if I keep feeling the way that I'm feeling about all the rest of my life with all my businesses being overwhelmed, it's gonna come over and it's gonna cross paths into the marriage. And I, thank goodness, am old enough and wise enough and have had enough experience in relationship to realize I recognized it and said, no more. We're going to make some changes. But to answer the question about the assistant, she's amazing. I still have her in place. She's my executive assistant that handles kind of all of those businesses helping me. But I utilized an assistant in the beginning of my going into my second year of sales, and I've had one the entire time. And when I scaled up to owning a brokerage, then I needed somebody for marketing. So then I added a marketing person. And in the beginning, that assistant played the role of managing the brokerage, doing marketing, and assisting me. And as things grew and grew, it was too much. So then I added one more person. And it just kind of came down to, honestly, I could continue to do it. I could have leveraged again. My next step would have been taking my personal assistant and making her the supervising broker to take over managing all those agents. And then I could have just taken a step back into selling less, and I could have kept all those businesses. But for me, I'm extremely, extremely connected and aligned with like my higher self. I would say my intuition, however people want to describe it. And I just recognized that I'm not going to attach to the identity of this business. Like, just because I'm successful at it, just because I'm doing really well with it, just because all of my agents are happy and everything is working, doesn't mean that I have to continue down that path. And something in me was just saying, it's time to shift. It's time, like you're meant for more, you're meant for something different. Like something in me is telling me it's time to expand away. And I have this deep knowing that real estate was only the vehicle to fund my ability to do what's next. And I trust that wholeheartedly. I don't know what next is, but I had to free up the space in my life to be able to allow my hands to be open to receive what's coming next. Because if I held on, I don't know if you do video on this, but my hands are open. And if I've got my business in my hand and it's filling and it's overflowing and I've got no time, attention, energy for anything else, I have to take and set something down in order to have a hand open to receive what's next. And I tried that. I stepped back from selling and had one hand open. The other was still full with my brokerage, and I was receiving, but I was half in it, half out, and my soul, my heart, my passion wasn't in either place. And I finally just said, we're going to set it all down. And I just took it, set it all down. Now I've got both hands open and I'm trusting my intuition to guide me through joy. It's why I say my peace and my joy, because the right thing is going to bring me joy, and it's going to continue to feed the peace that I've created in my life. And that's going to bring me to whatever is next.
To whatever is next. And when you're A-type and you always want to know what's next, it's hard to let that go.
So hard.
And have those empty hands open right there and be like, I don't know what's next, but we'll see. Did you always have that kind of mentality or that openness, or did you have to sort of learn to be open?
Totally had to learn it. I want to use these hands and force them. And I'm very masculine energy. I want to crush the world. I want to make things happen. I want to kill it. I want to, create a plan and destroy. I mean, my motto is like, go forth and conquer. Like, that's what I have always told all my agents, So no, I had to dive into educating myself on more of the feminine energy. And I did some coaching with somebody that really specializes in that. And it didn't take, I did a 6-month contract, and I actually ended up donating my last month to another woman that I felt needed it, because I was done after 5 months. I had made all the choices, all the decisions, and I felt like I got in alignment with adding in meditation and taking back my freedom and having the ability to sit in silence and just kind of get in tune. I went back to exercising and adding in at the time just walking, because I honestly was so, my nervous system was so fried, still is. I'm still working on that. My nervous system was so fried, I couldn't even focus enough to plan a workout, or I'd get out and I'd be doing a workout and my mind is like, I should be doing something else. So I had to step back, and I did 5-minute meditations. I started going to some meditation retreats. I started doing yoga, and then hiking, just everything that was super low intensity, easy. And with that, I was intentionally trying to just calm my brain. I added in a morning routine that was either reading, sitting in silence, meditating, or getting up and going directly out into nature. So those 3 things, I control my morning so that I start out with intention, so that I know what I'm doing or what I want to feel for the day. I dived into some tarot card reading, just to kind of, more so to just be intentional and try to stay connected, I guess, to my higher self. Yeah, and then from there, it's been extremely hard to stay with it, because I see opportunities everywhere. The entrepreneur in me sees it, and I want to tackle it, and this could be amazing. And then I stop and I remind myself that I don't want to go back to being burnt out, that I just want to continue to move towards peace. And it's a daily affirmation reminding myself.
Yeah, because you have that, like you said, that masculine energy that wants to, what word did you use? Destroy? Go at it and
Yeah,
destroy.
conquer, destroy.
Conquer. Yeah,
Mhm.
you have that masculine energy. You want that. And I feel you. I'm the same. I'm so action oriented. I just want to dive in. But then there seems to be, you found your way into balancing that feminine, masculine energy, kind of the action and reflection, like the doing and the not doing, which is
Yes.
something so many of us need to learn, is the not doing, because it's not just us, it's not just our energy, it's the world we're in, it's what we
Yes.
think needs to happen as entrepreneurs. We think we need to hustle, and that hustle culture is still so present, even though there's more awareness about
Yeah.
mindfulness. Because I bet when you were going at it and conquering, I bet you knew all this stuff. You knew about kind of that the meditation was out there,
Yeah.
you knew probably what you should have been doing, but you
Yes.
weren't doing it because you were too much in the doing of of the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial, the hard masculine action steps.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people all the time that you can listen to the different voices that the world is throwing at you. You just have to be very intentional which one you're going to buy into, because the hustle culture will constantly tell you that when you get close to the end of a goal, you got to set a new one. You got to push harder. You got to get up 4 hours early and fit in an entire workday. Enough is never enough. I'll sleep when I die. And if you buy in and invest into that lifestyle, that's the lifestyle that you can have that. But you have to be so careful and remind yourself that it may not be your values that you're chasing after. And if you lose sight of your values, then you're not in alignment. And all of that work, all of me, myself too, that's what I fell into. All of that effort, all of that action ends up being for nothing. And worse, it ends up for a lot of people taking you backwards, because you're running 100 miles an hour this direction after somebody else's goals and values, when in fact your goals and values are this direction. And that became so crystal clear to me when I realized, I'm like, I am stuck in I call it the money machine, because I have to continue to sell at this high level in order to finance these investments that I have going, in order to keep the status. And this is where all the ego comes in, where I'm top producer. And every time somebody compliments me and says, Tracy, oh my gosh, I admire you. I think it's so amazing how good you are at what you do, blah, 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 blah. That feeds that ego. And I'm like, oh, so do more of that. And I buy into that. And then I keep chasing that. And if you slow down, and that's where I find like meditation and getting alone and being in silence to connect to your own voice of what you truly value is paramount. Because at the end of the day and at the start of the day, for me, I'm reminding myself, what am I chasing? I'm not chasing money anymore because I don't value it. I'm chasing freedom because for me, if I don't get to choose to live my life with intention on how I want, that all of it's for nothing. If I don't have my health, which is something that I value, it's for nothing. If I don't have my family, my marriage, the people in my life that I value, it's for nothing. It doesn't matter how much money, it doesn't matter how successful, whatever. So it just keeping in alignment that first and foremost is my freedom. Second, authenticity first. Second, freedom. They kind of go hand in hand. That's a whole nother conversation. And then family. And I don't budge on those anymore. And it keeps me moving in the right direction towards the right values that are for me. And then I can hear the voice that's guiding me there, and I can shut out the rest of the world that's telling me what I should be doing at all times.
Yeah, because when you tried budging before, it just didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel right. It just didn't feel. That's burnout also often comes from those symptoms of burnout when
Mm-hmm.
your mind just shuts off, when your health is not what it's supposed to be. It's
Yep.
really just the signs that you're not listening to that voice, to the way that
Yeah.
you learned to listen to your own inner voice and your own values.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And your emotions play into that because when my time is stolen from me, when really I gave my time away, that's the reality of it. When I'm overscheduling myself, when I'm taking appointments that I don't want to take because I know that my daughter has a game I'd rather attend, or whatever, there's something that I truly value and I choose to take an appointment that makes my schedule crazy, and then I feel resentment, and that emotion of resentment feeds into your physical body, it feeds into everything, and then your whole existence is wrapped up. And that's what I mean by protecting my peace. I won't, because I will not allow those emotions of resentment and anger and all those to stay with me too
Yeah.
long. And I have to do that by controlling the things that lead me to feeling that way a lot of times.
Yeah, resentment, that often I define it as when I'm in a bad mood, when I really feel like just locking myself up and
Yep.
hate everything, and I like that the anger, yeah, anger and
Yep.
resentment and a bad mood, then I try to just stop and be like, okay, what's happening here? It's not that I didn't wake up in a bad mood. Something happened
Yes.
that made me feel not aligned anymore or made me not happy with what I'm doing. What is it that doesn't feel right? And then I try
Yes.
to analyze. I love journaling. I journal about it. And I come to something where, like, okay, I need to either delete, delegate, stop
Yes.
doing this, do this a different
Yes.
way, and then strategize. How can I do this differently? And it seems like
Right.
you've identified that as resentment and that anger, and those moments when you feel that. What's your tool? What's in your toolbox when you feel resentment?
So over the past year, as I was working towards making these big changes, the tool was just basically observing and realizing, like, what is it, like you said, exactly like you said, gosh, something's making me feel irritable. I should not be crabby right now. And it's realizing that I have too much on my plate. It's
Mm.
realizing that I only left 15 minutes in between appointments, and now I leave an hour so that I can reset. So it's really just becoming so aware of what I need next time, and then I fix it next time. And over the course of the whole year, I made those little adjustments. I tried to add additional time in between. I tried to leave the mornings open. I tried to quit just a little bit sooner in the day so that I could wind down, scheduling in my dog walks, my nature time, whatever it may be. And then when it just, for me personally, it just got down to realizing that it's just this whole life. It's the industry that I chose that is just not in alignment with what I want moving forward. And so that's where I decided to make the big pivot instead. And now I feel like I'm sitting here at ground zero with a crumbled building. This great foundation is installed, and I just need to build my life up with those tools, not with the tools, but with the observations that I made over the past year. The tools that I'm putting in place are the things like you just mentioned: time blocking, setting out my schedule for how many days I want to be able to work, how many, setting my personal things first. And I do give every now and again. I mean, like this last week, I had what was it? A facial. I had a facial scheduled, and that was a self-care thing that I had scheduled. And I was like adamant, I'm not scheduling, or I'm not canceling this, but something came up with the family, and it's like, okay, I have to reschedule it. So I canceled it. That's against what I want to do, but my family I also value. But then the next thing that came up, which was a haircut, I'm like, nope. Work came up, and I said, nope, I'm not rescheduling, because I'm not giving up 2 self-care items in 1 week. And just, it's constantly a struggle, but it's also just being aware all day long of the choices that I'm consciously making. And then if I make that choice, and I'm conscious when I'm making that choice, and I tell myself, okay, I choose to make this, I choose my family today over the facial, then I don't feel that resentment, because I'm in power. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. And that balance and weighing because you gave up one self-care item, but you said, I'm not going to give up 2 in 1 week.
Nope.
So it's okay to give up 1. It's okay to sometimes be like, okay, I just need to get this thing done. I'm going to do 1 day of full on, whatever, 12 hours in 1 day. You can do that. It's not a bad thing. But then those boundaries, asking
Yes.
yourself, what's acceptable for me? How can I allow a little bit more that wiggle room almost to, okay, I can, allowing yourself to have 1 day of full work, and then another day of, you know what, if I don't do anything today, it's fine. It's not you don't have to have that 9 to 5. I used to feel guilty for wanting to chill at 3. I'm like, oh, but I need to work at 5. I don't know, it's so ingrained.
That's society talking to us, right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
it. Like, there's people that are so incredibly productive early in the morning, and that, like, I schedule my like really creative, focused, like have to remember stuff early in the day. I do fun things like this. For me here, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. That's my start to wind down time. After 3 o'clock, I'm pretty well, not really good for much. So I do all my mental heavy stuff early in the day. I do my fun conversational appointments, coffee dates, brainstorming sessions, those kind of things midday. And then the evenings, it's all movement, family, just straight fun where I can mentally not be so engaged. And you get that choice if you choose to build your business around that and not fall into that concrete rule of, you should want Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, because that's the goal. That's the ideal. And it's like, I chased that for 15 years. I finally created it. I'm like, this isn't so great. Like, actually, I don't know what's so amazing about weekends off. It's, for me, weekends are busier outdoors. There's more people around at the places I want to go. So if I want to be alone and have more solitude to do those activities, I would rather work the weekend and have Tuesdays and Mondays or Thursdays off so I can go do the things I love alone.
Yeah, I sometimes do that exercise of just taking a day off on a Monday. And for
Mhm.
my productive mind, a part
Mhm.
of me, when society's speaking, like you said, a part of me is like, but it's Monday, it's the busiest day of the week, and I need to check my email, and I need to be productive, I need to respond to people. And then I try to it's like a fun game I play with myself. I look at it as a game. I'm like, why? Why do I have to check my email right now? Why can't I be unavailable? Like, who cares if I don't respond one
Yeah.
day, right?
Right.
Who cares, really? Because we give it so much more weight than
Yes.
it has to have. It doesn't have to have that much weight. It can be more light. Your business can be adapted to you. Just like you said, I love the examples you gave with your schedule. When you feel more productive, you adapt to that. I do the same. I know my most productive work is in the mornings. If
Yeah.
for any of you listeners, if that's in the evening, fine. If you're a night owl, fine. That's the whole advantage of having your own business, being an entrepreneur. So why not use that advantage, and why not enjoy that advantage that you have, that you don't have to be at an office at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah. And remembering that we teach people how to treat us based on our behaviors and our actions and our responses to things. Like, I'm thinking, so when I first started my business, my tagline was work ethic sells real estate. And I prided myself on working harder than anybody else. Well, guess what? That's what people expected of me. And I delivered, they got that, but it also created, that expired for me. The first couple of years when I was really just trying to build this huge thing, great, but I should have shifted away from work ethic sells real estate, and I should have shifted into this mindset to teach people how to treat me, of expertise, patience, is worth the wait, or like whatever, something along those lines. Because if we tell people with our actions, such as they call me at 6 a.m. and I answer, or they email me at 6 a.m. and I immediately respond, I'm teaching them that they get to do that, and they can continue to do that, and they can expect that in the future that I will respond immediately. Whereas if we, like, I have it on my voicemail that, if you're calling after 6 p.m., I won't return the call until the next business day. I'm very excited to talk to you, super excited to work with you. However, I value my family time, whatever. Same on my email. If you don't respond during times when you're not supposed to be working, they learn that you're just not available during those times. And when you get with these clients, or when you return their call, it's not sorry because you haven't done anything wrong. It's thank you so much for your patience, and thank you for understanding that Sunday nights is family time. I'm excited. Now it's your time, and 100% attention to them. And then they learn that,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then it's the same exchange back to them that, if they don't answer, you've got to give them the same grace that they have a certain life that, that they're trying to protect as well. And I think it's going
Yeah.
to take a little bit of time for the world to catch on to that.
Yeah, but I love that, just teaching the people around you how to treat you, and when you're available and when you're not. And that's in our hands, it's in our own hands to teach others, the people around us, if
Yeah.
we're super hyper available all the time or
Yeah.
not, because I'm the
Yeah.
kind of person who, I know WhatsApp is used a lot for business these days.
Mm.
I protect my WhatsApp against like everything business related. So on my phone, my notifications are off for everything but WhatsApp. And WhatsApp
Uh,
is like only for my friends. And I've had to fight for that one because I know sometimes I have a new client onboarding and they're like, oh, can we do WhatsApp voice messages? And I'm like, nope, there are other
I don't,
things out there, other apps that we can use,
yeah.
anything but WhatsApp, because I need
Yeah.
that one app that's only
Yeah.
for me, so that when I turn everything else off, there's nothing business related that can reach me in the evenings or on Sundays. And I must say,
Yeah.
sometimes on a Sunday, I see an email, I'm like, oh, maybe I can quickly reply. And then I stop myself and I
Yeah.
say, no, in my client agreement, I clearly state when I'm
Yeah.
available, when I'm not. So I'm gonna, even if I want to, I'm gonna keep myself from replying because it's
Mhm.
teaching the other person Sunday's a no-no. You know,
Yeah.
that's a no-no. And then on Monday I can say, I hope you had a lovely weekend. And then,
Exactly.
or thank you for your patience, like you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, my coach taught me that there's step one is setting boundaries. Most people don't do that well. They learn them, they learn to set them, but then they're like, these boundary things don't work. And she's like, well, are you enforcing them? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you can't say I don't work Sundays and then work Sundays, or you're not enforcing
Yeah.
the boundaries. You've taught them that I say things, but you can put a little bit of push on me and I'll give in to you. And that's what teaches people to just step right over your fence, your boundary.
Yeah, and there are people who test those boundaries. There are clients I've had or collaborations where, in many different ways, it might start with pricing, but then it turns into how they can reach you, or what
100.
kind, or the scope of the work you do for them. Like in all kinds of ways, it
Yep.
will be tested all the time. And so those are the moments where, wait a minute, if I give into this as an exception, you allow
It
people
opens
to
the
cross
door.
those boundaries. Yeah, yeah. So reinforcing them, absolutely, putting them into practice.
Yep.
Yeah, walking the talk, right? Not just stating something in your contract and then replying through every channel and doing whatever. So even if a client cancels a session with me, I'm stating like, you need to cancel through email. I'm not gonna check my Instagram to see if you're canceling the
Because then
session.
you're attached everywhere and you have to be connected everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that you protect WhatsApp. That's something that, people ask me all the time, if you could do something differently next time starting a real estate career, if you could tell new agents, what would it be? And that is genius. That is not something that I have, I guess, become aware of enough to identify, but that would be huge. I would do zero business through Facebook Messenger
Mm,
or through, like in your case, WhatsApp. I would do zero business like on Instagram messaging, etc., because it killed the personal end of all of that. Like, which now, I mean, I do so much business on there now that I don't want to be on Facebook for any reason. I don't want to be on Instagram for any reason. Like, I want to be totally disconnected. And I would have set in stone that the only means of communication is cell phone, and that would be phone call and text messaging or something. That way, because you're exactly right. When I was in it, it was every day. It was getting up, going through text messages, calls, emails, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, and you're going through all these sources and all these apps. And people didn't understand when I said that my nervous system was fried, but it was constantly looking, staring at your phone and being pulled six directions on the phone, to all these different apps and these notifications that are popping up for communication that are just stealing your attention as I'm giving my attention to each of those because I'm not setting boundaries. And then in real life, you've got, for me, it's agents that are asking me questions. You've got people in real life that are needing things, and you're just pulled every single direction all the time that you can't keep a straight brain thought, and then you're getting nothing done, and it's just the most exhausting feeling. But simply protecting your means of communication would have
yeah.
probably been the best thing I could have done for day one.
Mm. And
So one
even,
source.
yeah, and even, yeah, one source, even if sometimes I have clients or people saying, hey, no, but I need to be available because I know I have an Airbnb, I'm a travel agent, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, then have just one way of people
Yes.
contacting you. Just have it all collected into one. I have
Yep.
clients who are photographers and they have their, let's say, Honeybook or whatever CRM system set up, but they still reply to people
Yes.
on WhatsApp and Instagram. And I
Yes.
really help them like, nope, just send them all to the same. If there's anything official, a proposal, an invoice, everything needs to go to that one system,
Yes.
even if
It's
you need to be
designed
available.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's real estate agents have CRMs. Everybody has them. Nobody uses them because of the exact reason. All of the logging, you take the call, you take the information, you write it down, or you put it in your phone. And then later on, in order to have that data, you have to do a whole data entry session. If you just actually use the tools that are built into the CRMs to do all communication, it's automated.
It's automated. Yeah, you can automate that stuff.
But it's
So,
just we have a hard time setting boundaries and enforcing them because we're so into, people pleasing and trying to make everybody else happy. And what we fail to remember is that when we do that, we give away our own happiness, we give away our own, and really what we're giving away is our energy, our good energy, and we're replacing that good energy, which is what people want you for. We're replacing that and bogging it down with these overwhelmed, frustrating, irritable, angry, resentment feelings that steal the joy from the entire business transaction. They steal the joy from your personal alone time. It steals the joy from your family time, your friend time. And we're just tired.
yeah. So a very practical way to do that is like if you receive a message or an email and right after you feel that resentment, you feel like, oh, why is this person emailing me? Pause and be like, okay, how can I avoid this? Maybe it's the evening and I can just close my email app and turn off notifications and I won't have like, why is this bothering me so much right now at this moment in time, you know? And I'm like, oh, maybe because it's evening and I get this email, but I've already closed off my work for that client, and that's
Yes.
bugging me because I was unwinding and it's activating. Now my mind is thinking about this email, and even if
Yep.
I don't want to react to it, it's still taking up that brain energy. And like you said, it's all energy,
Mm,
and it's your good
yep.
energy that you need to
Yep.
protect and recharge and take care of.
Recharge. Yeah. And you've got to leave the time to recharge. You've got to disconnect. You've got to have time alone. You've got to have quiet, just uninterrupted, stimulated time, because that's the only
Yeah.
way we recharge.
And
Yeah.
talking about time makes me think about your podcast, Clock Out. And
Mhm.
Tracy, I enjoyed this conversation so much, and I hope you listeners did the same. I hope you've been listening to this while you were cooking or driving or walking, whatever you were doing, and I hope you felt inspired by to set more boundaries, to take that one small step, to turn off some notification of some app for, to have a timer, whatever it is you're going to do. I hope something comes out of this. And Tracy, if you want to share any last words or end, where can people find out more about you?
Sure, sure. So people can find out more at the easiest place would be www.clockoutvicariouslifepodcast.com. That's my podcast. You can tune in there, listen to some episodes. Your episode is amazing. I don't remember the episode number, but you're on there, can search it. It's a great interview. And then also I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook under Clock Out, the Vicarious Life Podcast. You can find me there and give me a follow, give me a like, give me a review, and I'd love to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes in the description. Also, you gave me a good idea. I'm going to put our chat on your podcast also in the show notes so people can check that one
Great.
out as well. And
Yeah,
and
it was
that's
a good
great.
one.
Yeah, it was a really nice one. So thank you so much, Tracy, for this
Yeah.
awesome chat that we had today. Thank you for showing us a bit behind the scenes, and I can't wait to just follow up with you, to stay in touch and to discover, as you're
Yeah.
going to discover, what those empty hands, what that next step will be for
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and energy.
Hey Achievers, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did recording it. Please, please, please subscribe and review my podcast. It would mean the world to me. See you in the next episode.